Solar Batteries 101, a beginner's guide to buying batteries, 2022 edition. Part 1 of this guide took you through the fundamentals of solar battery storage, what it is and how it works. Part 2, this video, will show you how to buy a battery for your home with confidence, and it covers 11 key points. Point 1, is a battery right for you? Point 2, what can you expect to pay for a battery? Point 3, what size battery do you need? Point 4, rebates and virtual power plants, making batteries more affordable at a cost. Point 5, common techniques of dodgy battery salesmen. Point 6, battery backup, know what you should be asking for. Point 7, thermal runaway, also known as why you shouldn't buy a cheap battery. Point 8, AC versus DC coupling, trading flexibility for efficiency. Point 9, like solar panels, batteries degrade, but faster. Point 10, battery warranties, tricks, traps, and caveats. Point 11, what to consider for an optimal installation. So, without further ado, point number 1, is a battery right for you? Battery mania started in earnest in 2015 when Elon Musk announced the original Tesla Powerwall battery. Since then, people always ask, are batteries worth it? When people ask me if solar is worth it, my honest answer is, hell yes, unless they have a heavily shaded roof. But when it comes to batteries, it's not as straightforward. It depends on why you want one. Over the last few years, I've heard 5 reasons for wanting a battery. Reason 1, blackout protection. People living in areas prone to blackouts value battery backup. Plus, it feels awesome when you're the only house on the street with the lights on and the beer's cold. I know this from experience. Generators have long been the standard choice for backup, but many people recognize batteries as a cleaner, more elegant set and forget option. Reason number 2, the environment. Many people love the idea of storing their clean solar energy for use at night. Why rely on fossil fuel power after sundown? I understand this sentiment, and it makes sense if your solar system would otherwise be export limited. But if your solar exports are not limited, sending your solar energy out to the grid offsets fossil fuel-based electricity generation. So, exporting your spare solar can help the environment just as much as storing the solar in a battery. I would suggest that the best long-term environmental reason to buy a battery is to help develop the nascent home battery installation industry. And if this is you, thanks for your support. Reason 3, economics. Many people mistakenly believe the only way to get a $0 electricity bill is to buy solar and a battery. The truth is, many people can easily get a $0 bill or even a credit with solar alone. But if you use heaps of electricity at night, or have a small solar system, or are heavily export limited, or just a low feed-in tariff, buying a battery can be the bridge to a $0 bill. Just be sure to recognize that saving money and getting your bills to zero are often not the same thing. If you already have solar and your annual bill is, for example, $200, you can see why it doesn't make much financial sense to drop 12 grand or more on a battery to bring that bill to zero. Reason 4, spite. Some people truly hate electricity companies. They are highly motivated to end their reliance on them by going off-grid. I've found that once people discover the high cost of going fully off-grid, their convictions tend to waver. Reason 5, early adopters and tech nerds. Some people really like battery tech and want to play with it regardless of the cost. Hell, I'm in this category. So what's the bottom line? Being honest about the economics of batteries leads people to accuse me of being anti-battery. On the contrary, I love batteries. I have one on my own home. I simply don't like how some dishonest companies sell them. It breaks my heart to field calls from concerned pensioners who have spent a small fortune on a battery. They can't understand why they still have an electricity bill. The salesman promised them they would be bill-free. The truth is, batteries aren't yet at a price where the raw economics stack up for most people. But money isn't everything. blackout protection, harsh export limits, or simply having a cool piece of tech in your home. These are all valid reasons to buy a battery. If any of these motivates you, I say go for it. Point 2. What can you expect to pay for a battery? As I mentioned in part 1, the size of a battery depends on how many kilowatt hours it can store. As with solar panels, economies of scale kick in the larger the battery, but the effect is smaller. Here are some examples of prices I'd consider reasonable. 5 kilowatt hours of storage, 7,000 to 9,000 installed. 10 kilowatt hours of storage, 11,000 to 14,000 installed. 15 kilowatt hours of storage, 15,000 to 18,000 installed. My solar battery storage comparison table, linked in the description, shows approximate prices for many batteries available in Australia, but the prices listed do not include installation costs. You may see lower prices advertised online and in the paper. Point 7 of this guide talks about why I'd go nowhere near a cheap battery. In terms of battery brands I trust, I've put together the following chart. It shows all the brands I'd be happy to have on my home at time of filming. What about payback periods for batteries? Well, an unsubsidised battery will generally take 15 to 20 years to pay for itself in Australia. Compare this to 3 to 5 years for a solar-only system. Some installers will present quotes showing a battery payback of just 6 to 8 years. They achieve this by blending the fast payback of the solar panels with a slow payback of the batteries. Rebates and virtual power plants can improve battery payback time, and I discuss these in point 4. My solar and battery calculator, linked in the description, is the only one I know of that separates out the payback of solar and batteries, instead of simply blending them together. Point 3. What size battery do you need? The amount of storage you need to buy in kilowatt hours depends on your nighttime energy use. The typical Australian home uses 16 to 20 kilowatt hours over 24 hours. For a 9 to 5 household, over 60% of this electricity usage is between sunset and sunrise. So, to run your home off a battery system, the minimum size I'd recommend is 10 kilowatt hours. You'd also want at least 8 kilowatts of solar panels to charge it reliably through the year. Compare the physical size of these batteries with the energy they can store. For expected savings, 10 kilowatt hours worth of storage will save you approximately $700 per year in an absolute best case scenario. High battery prices have made people ask whether there are legitimate ways to pay less for one without compromising quality. Well, there are a few ways to get a discount on a battery system. Enter point 4. Rebates and virtual power plants can improve battery payback. There are 2 ways to pay less for a solar battery in 2022. State-level rebates and virtual power plants, or VPPs. For rebates, at the time of filming, unlike for solar power, there is no federal battery rebate. Sorry. But there are state-level rebates available in the Northern Territory, South Australia, Victoria, and the ACT. For VPPs, most states have at least one VPP available. There are 2 advantages of VPPs and 2 drawbacks. Advantage 1. You may get an upfront discount on a battery system by agreeing to join a VPP when you buy the battery. Advantage 2. You can get paid a bonus for charging or discharging the battery at times when the grid needs support. With some VPPs, this may substantially improve the battery's economics. Drawback 1. The more your home battery is used, the shorter its lifespan. Tesla has recognized this concern and is extending their warranty by 5 years if you join a particular Tesla VPP. Drawback number 2. Because stored energy is usually most valuable in the evening peak, VPP operators may force your battery to charge from the grid in the mid-afternoon, discharging into the grid shortly after sundown, leaving you with little or no energy storage to get you through the night. Point 5. Common techniques of dodgy battery salesmen. Many honest companies ethically sell batteries. They take the time to run you through the pros, cons, and the economics. But, as with any new bill-reducing technology, they also attract bad salespeople. They see an opportunity to cash in on consumer confusion, promise the world, and bag a hefty commission. Here are the go-to tactics of dodgy battery salesmen. Technique number 1. Promising $0 bills with small batteries and small solar. Smooth-talking battery salesmen promising $0 electricity bills are all too common. With enough solar and a big enough battery, anyone's bill can go to zero. Often, hard-selling salespeople don't even sell a big enough battery system to get a homeowner's bills to zero, or even care if the owner has enough solar capacity to charge it through the year. Instead, they sell a small, sub-6 kilowatt-hour battery with a fat commission. Technique number 2, bait and switch. A classic tactic is to quote cheap to secure business, then on installation day, they'll demand thousands more to finish the installation. Technique number 3, false scarcity. Another tactic is a letterbox drop, inviting you to join a closed group battery test, offering home energy at a substantial discount. And wouldn't you know it, there are only a few places left, so you need to get in quick. My advice here is simple. If something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. Point 6, battery backup. Know what you should be asking for. If you're buying a battery, you should make the most of it. Ensure it's installed and configured so it backs up some or all of your home. But be careful when you ask for backup, as you may not get what you expect. I've put together this description of the levels of battery backup to help you understand what to ask for. Level 0, no backup at all. Level 1, that provides backup, but it takes a few seconds to switch over in a blackout. This means your house will lose power for a brief moment. In backup mode, the battery has reduced capabilities such as lower power output. Level 2 provides seamless backup in a blackout with full battery functionality, but it can't charge your batteries from the solar power system when the grid is down. This can be annoying if a blackout hits during the daytime when your energy storage is running low. Level 3, apocalypse-proof backup. Seamless switchover in a blackout, full battery functionality, and yes, you can charge your batteries from your solar panels while the grid is down. Here's a visual taken from my Tesla monitoring app showing my home operating with level 3 backup. In my opinion, if you're going to buy a battery, you want it to provide level 3 apocalypse-proof backup. Say this to your installer: I want my batteries to charge from my solar panels when the grid is down. If you have a tricky install, level 3 backup might not be possible in rare cases. Your installer will talk you through your options. Also ask yourself, what circuits do you want to back up? Although some manufacturers, hello Tesla, market their batteries as whole house backup, I recommend only backing up your essential circuits. If your battery is simply wired to back up your whole home, here's what can happen. You don't even notice the power has been cut. You carry on using your heating, cooling, hot water, oven, pool pump as per usual. Your battery either overloads on power demand or runs out of energy within a few hours. You're as blacked out as the rest of the street. My battery backs up the lights, kitchen, except oven, and air conditioner in my house. So if I have a power cut, it's obvious, and I know to use my electricity carefully, especially the air conditioner. So talk to your installer about what circuits you consider essential and only back those circuits up. Also, take the time to learn how much power those essential appliances use and how long they can run without draining your battery. Point 7, thermal runaway, also known as why you shouldn't buy a cheap battery. Because batteries are expensive, people always want to find a cheaper option. After all, they're all the same, right? Wrong. Lithium-ion batteries can store large amounts of energy. When they charge and discharge, they generate heat. If charging and discharge is not managed correctly, thermal runaway can occur. Thermal runaway is a fancy way of saying a big ass fire. With the amount of energy stored in lithium batteries, they can burn for hours. Now, different manufacturers have different ways of avoiding thermal runaway. Properly configured battery management software requires properly funded research and development teams. Many big names have also invested in hardware safety features as a final line of defense. For me, this is deadly serious. Cheap batteries installed for peanuts worry the hell out of me. Don't gamble with your safety to save money on a battery. If you can't afford a decent brand, don't buy one at all. Point 8, AC versus DC coupling. See part 1 of this guide, linked in the description, for a more in-depth explanation of AC and DC coupling. When it comes to buying a battery system, there are some key differences between AC and DC coupling. Let's look at the pros and cons of AC coupling first. It's solar inverter agnostic. You can retrofit any AC coupled battery to any existing solar system. It requires a battery inverter alongside your solar inverter, which adds to costs. Some batteries, like the Powerwall, come with an inbuilt battery inverter. It can be expensive or impossible to get level 3 backup if you're on 3-phase power. Due to DC to AC to DC conversion losses, most AC coupled batteries have a round-trip efficiency of around 88%. Local network limits on single-phase houses may mean you're not permitted to add an AC coupled solar battery. It depends on whether the network counts the battery inverter towards your total phase limit. Now let's compare this with DC coupling. It requires a hybrid inverter. This limits your choice of energy storage systems to the battery models your hybrid inverter supports. Some hybrid inverters cannot provide level 3 backup. It's a risky option if you're planning on adding battery storage at a later date. New batteries may not be compatible with your hybrid inverter. Marginally higher efficiency compared to AC coupling, up to 95%. DC coupling is preferable if you have your heart set on a specific inverter and battery combo and you want to buy now. However, AC coupling is the way to go if you want flexibility in your choice of batteries. But do check that your local network doesn't count the battery inverter towards your inverter limit. Point 9. Batteries degrade faster than solar panels. Solar panels have 25-year performance warranties. This warranty states they won't degrade more than a certain amount per year. Most batteries have 10-year warranties. Only a few have warranties longer than this, and they tend to be more expensive. The typical budget solar panel will degrade by about 0.5% per year over a 25-year period. The typical battery will degrade by 3% per year or more. The more you use a battery, the more it degrades in terms of energy storage capacity. Anyone with a mobile phone will have experienced this. Once a solar battery reaches the end of its warranty, degradation is not linear. Sharp declines are highly likely. Let's use the Tesla Powerwall's warranty as an example. It says the battery will provide 70% of its initial 13.5 kilowatt-hour capacity after 10 years. This works out to 3% annual degradation. I'll guess from year 11 onwards, the annual drop will be higher. As it'll be another 6 years or so before any Powerwall gets to 10 years old, we'll have to wait and see if I'm right. Many models of battery financial payback assume no degradation. This can make the economics of batteries look better than they are. Take the time to understand your solar battery's warranted performance and degradation. Then, make sure your expectations of the home battery system's performance towards the end of its warranty are realistic. Point 10. Battery warranties, what to look for. Reading battery warranties can be tedious. I know, because I've read a bunch. Here are the key points to understand about any battery you're thinking of buying. First up, battery degradation. What capacity does the battery have at the end of its warranty? 60% after 10 years is a typical amount. Look favourably on any company warranting more than this. Also ask, is your warranty the same if you're part of a VPP? Joining a VPP can reduce what your warranty covers. Next, look for gotchas. Are there any clauses in the warranty reducing what's covered or which void it entirely? Some warranties don't allow you to cycle a battery more than once a day. Others void the warranty if the ambient temperature goes outside a narrow range. Some mandate that the battery must always have an internet connection. Finally, some require online warranty registration shortly after installation. Now check, does the warranty cover the entire battery or only parts of it? A classic example is a 10-year warranty for the battery, but only 5 years for the supporting electronics. If something important breaks in year 6, you've got a hefty repair bill coming your way. Next up, what does the manufacturer cover for the warranty replacement? Some manufacturers cover labour costs involved with diagnosing and repairing a battery, others don't. Some have a clause stating if they deem the battery beyond repair, they'll compensate you financially based on the age of the battery. This compensation can be stingy. Now, do extended warranties also increase the number of cycles allowed? I saw a battery manufacturer trumpet their battery's industry-leading 20-year extended warranty. But purchasing this extended warranty didn't increase the amount of energy you could use. All it did was give you an extra 10 years to use it. Lucky last, who's backing the warranty? This is a big one. Ideally, a battery brand would have an established Australian office, meaning they can't pack up and slink home to wherever to shirk their responsibilities. Many companies have started to import and sell batteries from overseas. There's nothing wrong with this. But ask yourself, how likely is it a small importer will be operating in 10 years? I'll finish by saying, my solar battery storage comparison table, linked in the description, has links to all the warranty documents for the batteries listed. Point 11. What to consider for an optimal installation. Where is the battery going to go? If you want to have your battery installed in a compliant location away from the meter box, be aware that the cost of cabling can add up very quickly. The difference in price between installing it next to the meter box and somewhere else in your house can be $1,000 or more. Battery standards are strict on where you're allowed to place it. For example, you're not allowed to install a battery under stairs or access walkways, in roof or wall cavities, or in a habitable room. You're also not allowed to install a battery too close to the following: an external exit, a window, building ventilation for a habitable room, a non-associated appliance like a hot water tank or an air conditioner unit. Also consider, will your switchboard need an upgrade to accommodate the extra battery equipment? Depending on the size of the upgrade, this can add thousands to a quote. Is your solar array big enough to charge the battery, even in winter? The bigger a battery, the more solar panels you'll need to charge it and power your home. What circuits in your house do you want to back up? As already explained, it is often better to only back up select circuits instead of your whole house. The less you back up, the longer you can run them in a blackout. If your batteries are charging from your solar panels, which is level 3 backup, you can run these circuits for quite some time. Finally, are you planning on installing your battery in a garage? Then you'll need bollards installed for safety reasons. You don't want to be crashing your car into that battery. Alright, that brings us to the end of part 2 of this guide. Next up is part 3. Everything you need to know about the ins and outs of owning a battery and living with it. And I'll just take a moment to say that I've been running the website Solar Quotes for the last 12 years. In that time, I've built up a great network of pre-vetted installers that can give you quotes for solar or batteries for your home. So, if you're considering solar or batteries, just visit my website solarquotes.com.au, pop your postcode into the top right box, fill in the form, and I'll do my absolute best to match you with up to 3 installers I trust in your area. See you in part 3.